it's Don, the Auction Professor. Today I wanted to talk just a little bit about bins, buy it now options, and what you can do with them a little bit, and what to do when you get small, like lowball offers on them. For the most part, everything we have is on a bin. We do use up the couple thousand free auctions that we have. They're mostly in a specific category, collectibles, so across the board. Most records, because we would have to pay if we did them as an auction, actually are just bins. Pretty much everything else is a bin, other than like toys and collectibles. And again, those are included in the free auctions that we get. But for the most part, there's a couple things that you always should do when you're doing bins. One thing is to always price much higher than you expect to get out of the item. And again, like let's say the item's worth 10 bucks. You've researched it a couple of times. You know that it routinely sells for 10. Us personally, I would list it at 30, maybe even a little higher because it's a lower amount, maybe 45, just to throw some number out there. We always put a higher price than we expect to get on the item. That way you have room to play around with it. I know, let's say you have a $100 item, and then somebody puts in like a $5 offer. This is one of the questions that I've had, and I've had this question several times a week for at least a month, so I figured this video would address just that specific issue. So that $100 item you have a $5 offer on. For us, I would simply just counter back at what I normally would. Let's say it was a $50 offer. I would counter back at 80 in the $80 range. That's just about where I would do. I've knocked 20% off my price. Again, because I've marked it up greatly from what it's actually worth. So it's a $100 asking price on my bin. And I've researched the item. It's worth $33. I get a $5 offer. I counter that $5 offer with an $80 offer from me back to the buyer. So and then it's in his ballpark to decide what he's going to do. Is he going to come back with a $10 offer or a $6 offer now? If that's the case, I'm going to stick it up there and only rate or lower it from the $80 counter offer down to a $75, the second round that we go about the counter offers. And then from there, if he only goes up a couple bucks, I'll just decline it. It's not worth messing around. He's not serious. And again, as I said, then I just decline it. And if you decline it and you don't hear anything back from him, no worries. He wasn't serious. Just wait for the next offer. Don't take the low offer if you don't feel that that's a correct value on the item. There's always going to be another person coming down the line if it's a good item. And again, it's key that you must research your items to make sure that you're only listing the good items, the ones worth selling. Even in postcards, if I get 6,000 postcards, I am going to flip through every one of those postcards. Either I know that that whole city holds no value other than one or two cards, and I'll fly through them, or I'll actually look them up on comp searches. Again, I've talked about it. I scroll through really quick. It makes some people sick how fast I scroll through. I've done it for a long, long time. I never could do it when I first started, but these days I'm looking for similars. I'm looking for sold items. The eBay has colored them differently, so it's easy to just slide through those listings and see. I do look at, when I'm checking out prices, the complete listing. I don't just look at sold, because that doesn't give you any accurate idea on how many were up to get to sales. So you've got to look at it from several aspects. So anyway, as long as you've got a good price on it, you know it's going to get another offer. So don't be panicky that you turn down a lowball offer just to get money in. It is not worth you blowing your profits to get money in. Again, a lot of the items you sell, in even clothing these days, unless it's some high in-demand item, is going to sit on your shelves for some length of time. So, you don't be afraid to hold on to it for a little while. You rule this game. You are the king of your roost if you can get enough items up to not matter if you take one specific offer or not, because you still have money rolling in. So, that's how I look at it. It's a game. You've got to have the biggest numbers. You've got to have the most stuff up. I know people say, no, that's not true. You're just going to be paying fees after fees. It's not that way if you've researched your item. If you haven't researched your item and you have thousands of things up and you're just throwing them up to get things up, you're going to fail, because you don't know the value on the items. You don't know what they're worth. You don't know what kind of offers to take. In some categories, back to bins, I literally know exactly how much I'm going to put based on a price, because again, this is all we do, 50, 60 hours a week. I just do pricing and putting stuff out there and listing on eBay. This is our business. My business isn't just hopping on YouTube and making some videos. I still haven't seen a dime from YouTube, so I'm not worried about that at this point. That's not my goal, to put some fantasy world out to you. You have to be able to research everything, and you have to just put the right things up. And like clothing as well, we all know clothing is having major issues because it's a flooded market. Antiques, there's a limited number of categories and items, but they're all over the place, so anybody can mess with them. But with the bins, you're going to have the most luck in selling stuff, especially if it's vintage collectibles, antiques, and things along that line. You probably won't have super luck in some items, like maybe books or video games doing bins, unless you're pricing them where everybody else is, or you're doing promoted listings. Again, most antiques and collectibles, I don't do promoted listings. It's just not worth giving away more money for an item that will just take the right person online for it to actually sell. There's all these gimmicks everybody talks about. They don't do anything for you. The pretend to edit and not really edit anything doesn't do anything. You might as well just hit cancel after you hit the word edit, because you're not altering anything in the listing. Unless you alter something, it's not going to do any good. But with bins, you have an option. For example, let's say you have this $100 item, and you want to do it as an auction. So you list it out thinking you're going to get bids. So you put it out low, hoping to get more people in, say $9.99 or $19.99. If there's only one person online at the time that auction is running that's interested in that item, it's going to sell for your opening bid, whether it be $9.99 or $19.99, and you're not going to get the $100. But if the item's worth $100, you can put it up as a bin for like $150, and then you can actually get $100 out of the item. Because if someone offers you the $100, they know it's worth $100, and they offer you $100 on it, they think they're getting a deal if you accept it at $100, because you've went down 50 bucks on it. So again, that one person might have paid more, but since you listed it low at an auction, you sold it low at an auction. But if you list it high as a bin, that person is going to think that it's worth more. It's got a perceived value based on the amount you actually put on the item. So again, don't take a lowball offer if you know the item's worth more than what they're asking for it. You never have to accept an offer. The game is in your ballpark when you put it as a bin, because you can accept or deny any offer. You can set it as high as you think you can get away with, and then lower it when you get the offers. That's the playroom I talk about. But if you just list it as an auction and hope that the auction is going to set the actual price of the item, that doesn't happen always. Again, as I said, it takes the right person online at the right time to want that specific item. That is why bins work the best, and a bin set higher than you think you're going to get it is always the best bet. Again, back to that $100 item. Let's say the item's worth $33 again. And as a bin, I'm going to put that $100 on it. So if I get offers in, say, in the $50 range, I can play around knowing what I have into it, what I should get back out of it. So at $50 offer, it's half of what my asking price is, but yet it's still $17 over what the selling price of the item is in comps. So that's why it works, because the perceived value. They perceive that you understand that it's worth $100, especially when you have a lot of items up and you have high feedback. I know it's not always that way when you're starting off and you don't have the high feedback numbers, but you can increase it over the comp price, your comps, no matter what. Don't start off low with everything. Start off higher with everything so it looks more of a perceived value. That way your whole store doesn't have items below a certain amount. Your whole store is better items. Whether they'd be interested in the items or not is not the issue. Once they're in the store, you want your store to have a perceived value. The whole store has higher dollar items in it. They think you understand your items when you have a bunch that are all priced high. You're not undercutting yourself, and you're not undercutting, the whole market by doing it that way. If everybody in the market started to raise their price based on what let's say I sold the items for, then the whole market would increase the asking price. So everybody would be paying more for that specific market. That's key to getting this to work. So let's say I've got a niche and I am 20% of the entire eBay market in that niche, which is Very easy number. I am that in several categories. Some categories, I'm like 80% of the market. So, you know, if you control the market and your items are all perceived to be valued high, it works out for the best, because then other people in that category are also going to charge or ask more for the item based on comp sales. Since you are the controlling factor in that category or that niche, the comp sales are based on what you sold them for, which are based on your higher sales. So hopefully that makes sense. So again, the whole rule of thumb for us is to price them high. If we have to go lower, that's fine. But if we price them high, we're actually still above what the average comp price is for most items. It's just the way it works for us. It works for a lot of people this way. And again, I've talked about this in a couple other videos. Let's say something doesn't sell. Let's say it's that $33 valued item that you have for $100 that doesn't sell. Sometimes I've raised my asking price to $125 and then sold it for $75 right off the bat. But there's a rule of thumb that perceived value is more important than actual value. And that's why, you know, the markets and capitalism can set the rate of what something is valued at. Because let's say they control the market. They control that area, or they have a controlling factor, whether it be a majority or not, in that category, to actually have a say in what the value should be on an item. So again, so let's say we've got back to the $100 asking price on the item that I've comped and I know that's worth $33. I get a $5 offer in, as I said. I'm going to comp back, counter back at, say, 75 or 80 bucks on it. You know, and we'll see how serious they are. Sometimes they'll come back at now, they'll raise it up to 50 or 60, and I'd probably just take it at that point, because the value on it, based on comps, is $33. So I'm getting, you know, well over what the comps are on that item. You know, if you put it up for 100, it's worth 33. You've got a lot of playroom in there. Chances are you're going to sell it for more than what other people did if you start off at that high level. But if you put it at 35 bucks, somebody's going to try and lowball you and offer you 15 or 20, thinking half off of that is what you probably think you're going to get out of it, and you're going to end up losing if you think that's good and you're going to accept it. So again, hopefully that just gives you some basic ideas on this. That's my philosophy on it. It's worked for us across the board. In many cases, we don't have to sell as many items as other people do, because I'm collecting sometimes twice what they do for the same items. You know, and for us, it saves us time and energy. I can worry about the long haul on most items. We constantly get stuff in, so it's not an issue for us. Hopefully that gives you some ideas. Hopefully that gives you some thought on it, and hopefully that answers your questions. Again, Don the Auction Professor, if you liked the video, please hit the like button down below. You can also hit the bell icon up top to be notified when I post new content or go live. Subscribe and tell a friend.